Well, good morning, and it's not often you get to say, welcome back to planet Earth. Thank you. All of America, and indeed the entire world, is proud of the four heroes that are standing behind us. Today, we welcome the historic Artemis II crew. Commander Reid Wiseman, Pilot Victor Glover, Mission Specialist Christina Koch, and Mission Specialist Jeremy Hansen. Artemis II wasn't simply a successful mission. It was proof that this nation still has extraordinary talent, the capability and the resolve to do hard things at the very highest level. It showed the world that when America commits itself to a mission, we lead and we succeed. This is about more than just exploration. It's about the strength of our nation, and it's about whether the United States of America continues to set the standard beyond Earth or whether we allow others to do it for us. This crew carried humanity back into deep space and surpassed the record set by Apollo 13 for the farthest distance traveled by humans from Earth. That was not just a milestone measured in miles. It was a declaration to the world that America is once again pushing the boundaries of what is possible. And what made this mission resonate so deeply with the American people were the moments that reminded us that space exploration is still, at its core, a human endeavor. We remember the breathtaking videos on the far side of the moon, and I don't mean Pink Floyd, and the crew's raw reactions to it. We remember the wake-up songs, the flying Nutella, the spirited debate over maple syrup and pancakes. Even in the silence of space, humor, individuality, and joy endured. We also remember the moving tribute of Carol Crater, named in honor of Reid Wiseman's late wife, Carol. It was a reminder that behind every mission are families who support and sacrifice and give meaning to the work of those who serve. Many of us, myself and Ranking Member Cantwell included, also recall the privilege of speaking directly with the crew during their mission on a call joined by bipartisan and bicameral legislators. I want to say to Jared Isaacman, the NASA administrator, who is here somewhere, Jared, thank you very much for not charging us long-distance rates for that call. That moment captured something significant. There are still causes big enough to unite the country. Space exploration and the wonder it brings to the world is one of them. The Orion Integrity spacecraft carried more than just 4 astronauts. It carried the work of thousands of engineers, technicians, manufacturers, and suppliers across the country who made the mission possible. It carried the hopes of a nation that still looks up and believes in what comes next. As a proud Texan, I would be remiss if I did not recognize the enormous role of Texas in this success. The Johnson Space Center remains the beating heart of American human spaceflight, where astronauts like this crew train, where missions are planned, and where decades of excellence continues to drive our leadership in space. Across Texas and across America, workers help make this mission a reality. Artemis II was an effort by all of NASA, with the extraordinary leadership from Administrator Isaacman, down to the engineers and contractors who worked for years to ensure a successful mission. Artemis II also demonstrates the strength of our alliances. We are proud to recognize the partnership of the Canadian Space Agency and Jeremy Hansen's historic role on this crew. CSA has long been a true friend to NASA, and we are grateful for their enduring partnership and contribution to our nation's space program. But let me say this plainly. This mission was not the finish line. It was the starting gun. Artemis II now sets the stage for future Artemis missions, for a return to the lunar surface, and for a sustained presence on the lunar surface, with the moon base that will secure American leadership for decades to come. We cannot afford complacency and we cannot afford delay. We cannot afford to lose sight of this mission. The moon isn't simply a destination. It is a proving ground for the technologies and partnerships and strategic advantages that will shape the future and ultimately will take us to Mars. So let this celebration also be a call to action. America does not shrink from great challenges. We meet them. We do not follow history. We make it. And because of this crew, the next chapter of exploration is already underway. To Reid, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy, you have inspired millions of people. I'm used to this floating in the air beside you. And the spirit of exploration still defines this nation and those who stand behind us. I'm reminded in the 1960s of the role my hometown of Houston played in the birth of Apollo. And President John F. Kennedy came to Rice University and stood in the Rice University Stadium and made a commitment to America and the world that within a decade, we would put a man on the moon. And President Kennedy explained why we were doing so. He said, "We are doing so for the same reason that Rice plays the University of Texas, not because it is easy, but because it is hard." Well, these men and women have done something hard, and they have inspired America and the world, and the Senate Commerce Committee is proud to congratulate them and say a job well done. Now recognize Ranking Member Cantwell.
Thank you, Senator Cruz. I think that accent needs a little bit of work, but I want to thank my other colleagues who are joining us. Senator Gary Peters, I thought he was right over here. Maybe he's coming around. Senator Markey, Senator Kim, Senator Blunt-Rochester, and Senator Klobuchar. I actually think, Administrator, you should come up and join us. Come on over here. You've done a great job. And we're very, very, very proud of your leadership in this mission. I'm thrilled to welcome the crew of Artemis II here to this important hearing room where we try to do policy that helps empower the Artemis mission. Commander Reid Wiseman, Pilot Victor Glover, Mission Specialist Christina Koch, and Canadian Mission Specialist Jeremy Hansen. We are so thrilled that you are here with us today. We're here to honor you and your travel around the moon, farther from Earth than any human before, in their vehicle aptly named Integrity. I had the opportunity to speak with him during the mission and was especially moved by Victor's insights in the value of human perspective in space exploration. Human spaceflight turns exploration into a shared national and civilization event, and the world watched as Artemis II and the people who were on board inspired a new generation of Americans. The crew's impressive accomplishment was made possible through the efforts of more than 2,700 companies across the United States, including 41 from the state of Washington. Yes, there is a reason we are known for the Space Needle. Among the contributions Washington companies built, the thrusters for the Orion vehicle, the parachute deployment technologies for the splashdown, and I had the chance to visit these companies while you were on your mission and take a look at this technology. So I invite you all to come to Seattle. In the Senate, our colleagues and the people on this committee have worked hard to ensure that NASA has the direction and resources on this bold, ambitious program and will open access to the moon as a platform for exploration, science, and economic development. I want to thank Senator Cruz for his leadership. Our NASA Reauthorization Act of 2026 calls for the establishment of a sustained lunar base. The Artemis mission laid down the foundation for that endeavor by proving that our deep space transportation system actually works with a crew on board. I want to thank Administrator Wiseman for calling that shot and making sure that we got this particular mission under control to make those tests a reality. The fact that this bill passed out of this committee with unanimous support shows how much the U.S. leadership is invested in space. But most importantly, we saw that with the success of Artemis II mission, we inspired not only a generation to think differently about the grandeur of the scale in the future, but we saw a world looking in on the United States and the accomplishments in science that we have achieved. Thank you again to the Artemis crew for joining us today. Thank you for the space exploration, and thank you for the leadership in the United States of America and Canada. Thank you.
And now each of you have an opportunity to say something. Commander, you want to start us?
Well, thank you. It is fantastic to be here. I think I'll just talk about courage for maybe 45 seconds. And it's not the courage of the four standing here in blue, but it's the courage of people like Charlie Blackwell Thompson, our launch director, who had the courage to wake up and actually let that vehicle leave the launch pad with 4 souls on board. It's the courage of the young men and women who are milling the aluminum valves and putting that together and just knowing that they're putting this onto a rocket ship. That takes tremendous courage. And then I would be remiss to stand here in Washington, D.C. and not talk about courage that maybe you don't reflect on often, but it takes a lot of courage to lead. And we want to thank you all for leading this nation and the world. Thank you.
Thank you for having us here. It's great to be with you in the People's House. I just want to put a spin on something that has got a lot of attention, how far we went. People like to talk about that distance, and I just want to connect it to a thought. There's a saying, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. And we went together. And that record, if you think about anything, don't think about the 4 names, because we didn't go just the 4 of us together. We went together, all of us. Thank you for going on that journey with us. And now let's keep it going.
Thank you. The most important word that I feel I can say here is not only thank you to enabling our mission, but congratulations. Because the people in these buildings are the people that made it possible for us to carry all of the dreams of all of humanity with us on this mission. And we like to say that what we do shows what humanity can accomplish when we come together to do great things. But those great things also have to have purpose, value, and the people in these buildings are the people that make sure that that's true and hold us accountable to that. We bring back those benefits, science, innovation, industrial, inspiration, to the places back here on Earth that share our way of life and liberty and leadership. And that is exactly why we carry the same dreams that you all do when you write into history what we are able to accomplish together. Thank you.
I would just share with you, we as a crew saw some extraordinary things on our mission. Of course, we saw the moon up close. We saw an incredible eclipse of the sun. We saw what we often coined tiny Earth out the window. You would often hear us, we're busy doing our work and someone would be like, oh, there's tiny Earth. And we would float to the window and all have a look at all of you back there. But we also saw some other extraordinary things that weren't in space with us. We saw the Administrator Wiseman's extraordinary team come together and get us safely to the moon and back. And we we later saw that you all joined us on the mission, and that was pretty powerful and extraordinary for us. And from an outside perspective, I hope that all of you see yourselves in this mission and these grand endeavors. I can speak on behalf of Canadians to say this is something that we as Canadians admire in you in America, and that you set these extraordinary goals and you leave space for others like Canada to come along and contribute in a meaningful way. And by doing those things, you garner immense respect around the world, but you lift up others to come along with you. Congratulations.
Do folks have any questions for our esteemed guest? Oh, hold on. We also have a special presentation that I'm being reminded I have stumbled and forgotten, which is the United States Senate, with the sponsorship of Senator Cantwell and myself, has passed a resolution honoring each of you for your extraordinary and historic endeavor.
There you are.
So each of you now has a resolution saying thank you, and that is passed unanimously on behalf of the Senate and is forever in the record of the United States of America that we collectively have said thank you for your leadership.
What an honor.
All right, thank you very much, everyone.
I thought it was great.
Thank you. All right, you got my back, even if I'm taking a break.